Stock in focus is Asian Paints. Look at the rally that we are seeing in the stock. It's almost 6% higher. Clearly, looks like the Dalal Street is more focused on the colorful outlook for Asian Paints ahead, because do remember in the conference call as well, the management did speak about what lays in store for Asian Paints and how recovery has been quite stellar, especially in the months of May and June, of course, in smaller towns as opposed to metro cities. So what we'll do is we'll sort of talk about more on Asian Paints. Let's bring on board now MD and CEO of Asian Paints, Mr. Amit Syngle. Mr. Syngle, really a pleasure having you with us on ET now, and I hope your team at Asian Paints is doing well. Now, this lockdown has obviously disrupted your entire double-digit volume streak. So if you could talk to us about what the volume growth was in Jan and Feb, because we understand it stayed at double digits in those 2 months. So what was the loss in sales you witnessed?
Okay, so I think overall, like the 3 quarters, we have been doing fairly well. The 4th quarter started very well. Both the value and the volume for the months of January and February were looking pretty good. And it was double-digit growth for us in these months. Even fortnight of March 1 was going very well. It was just that when the lockdown got imposed at a nation level, there are lot of things which came to just immediate stop, which really disrupted the month of March. And therefore, what we see is that it impacted the entire quarter in a big way. And you must remember that in general, what really happens is that March is also a critical month when people look in terms of doing their targets, their promises, and so on and so forth. So there's a little bit of a skew which comes towards the last 10 days to that extent, and that is something which also really kind of affected the quarter in a big way. But overall, I think we were quite happy in terms of the progress, in terms of what we have made, in terms of the new initiatives and the product profiles which we were able to achieve as far as the last quarter goes.
Well, of course, the big news is understanding what sales and volumes are right now. We understand there's a good recovery, in May and June. Metros, of course, still has been a little slow, but smaller towns are picking up. So for both segments, how far are we from, those pre-COVID level sales that you were clocking in?
Okay, so the entire month of May, I think we saw a lot of pent-up demand which was coming, and we see that a good demand which was coming from Tier 2, Tier 3 and Tier 4 cities to that extent. The metros and Tier 1 cities were a little slow to respond. When we got into January, what we see is the demand is much better as compared to May overall, and we see the trend of the Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 4 cities continuing to do well. And we see that now the 90 to 95% of the markets are really open, and we are supposedly doing quite well in these cities. As far as metros and Tier 1 cities are concerned, it is a little bit of a mixed bag. I would not say it is a uniform performance. There are some metros like Mumbai, Delhi, to some extent Chennai. They are affected a little more. I would say others like Bangalore, Hyderabad, they seem to be doing well. Even in terms of the Tier 1 cities, if we look, there are some parts in the west which possibly are affected in terms of Ahmedabad, Surat, Pune kind of cities. But in all, I would say that the recovery in June is really very good. And we are seeing that a lot of demand which has started to come back. And we have done a lot of initiatives in terms of seeing that we are able to kind of address the paranoia of the customers to initiate more painting at their homes. So I think all initiatives together are yielding good results, and we are seeing a very good positive movement in the month of June.
All right, that's good to know. Do you think real estate construction slowdown, though, and even the monsoons could be two hurdles that could further, sort of impede recovery in the metro cities and the Tier 1 cities for Asian Paints? And also, what about labor availability? Because India clearly is not used to DIY home painting.
Yeah, so you're right. In terms of the new construction, definitely that is something which has really got affected in a very big way. However, what we are seeing in the month of June that there are a lot of constructions with certain builders which have started. People are looking at captive labor in terms of looking at that construction to happen. A lot of builders have looked at enticing the migrant labor to come back, and we see trickling of that effect happening in terms of people starting to come back. But overall, as you rightly said, the new construction definitely is much slower in terms of what is there, and we think it will take some time to really recover and start going its own way, because by the time the people also come back, it might be that people are back only by July or so, July end, and therefore it would take some time to really kickstart in terms of getting back to normalcy.
All right. Okay, Mr. Syngle, what about sales mix though? Because the last 2 quarters, yes, there was double-digit growth, volume growth, but it was led by the lower-end products like putty, etc., which does not really contribute much to margins. So, what was the sales mix, and also will the highly vulnerable decorative segment continue to lag for some time?
So overall, we must remember that given the share of Asian paints, we look at more working in terms of really expanding the overall market rather than looking at competition in a very strong way. And therefore, we keep on working out ways and means in terms of how we can really inflate the per capita consumption in terms of paint as we kind of go ahead. So I think as part of that, we have looked at a very strong initiative in terms of looking to upgrade a lot of people who are at the bottom of the pyramid in terms of looking in terms of getting into smart products, which are value added products in a very big way. And we think that this is like a pyramid where there is a large base, and this is a continuous effort which will continuously happen, where we would get more and more people into the painting cycle, get them into at the first level where the value added products are there, and therefore this segment, which is the value added smart products which are there, especially the emulsions, will continue to grow in a very strong way. The other area is the area of waterproofing, and waterproofing again is something where today the type of consumption which happens in India is per household is very little. People tend to live with certain problems, and we are positioning ourselves as an expert in that area, where we are able to offer solutions to each and every problem which is there. And that is something which is really enlarging the market for us in terms of really finding new ways and means in terms of offering solutions to the customer. The other range is the entire area of health and hygiene. And in this sector, we have looked at introducing a lot many products. We already had Royal Health Shield, which is an antibacterial paint, which was for walls. We have now introduced a Royal Health Shield all surface paint, which is also there, which can give peace and solace to the customers, because we are offering a complete solution for the home, and these are at the top end. So we see even at the top end, there would be very strong products which would come in the either in the health and hygiene space, in the emulsion space, in the waterproofing space. So we will continue to traverse even the top end in terms of looking at seeing that what is the value we can add at the higher, at the premium and the luxury end going, along with the fact that our foray into the whole sanitizing business is something which is very strong, and we are using that in a very big way to kind of kill the paranoia which the customer has in terms of really getting painters into their home and giving them a safe painting experience.
All right. So as sales are picking up, what's your cash flow position looking like?
So the cash flow position is now very comfortable. We are almost back to our levels of normal working to that extent. I think the overall outstandings of the market are now at a very low level, and we have been able to kind of take care of any outstanding payments and overall areas. So I think the overall cash flow situation is very normal, and it is nothing which is an area to worry about.
All right. What was the impact on the fall of crude prices on the derivatives that you use for manufacturing?
Okay, so what we see is that definitely the the mineral turpentine oil prices have come down in a big way. But at the same time, we have also seen that there is a rupee which is depreciated by almost 10 percentage points. And overall, there has been some balancing which is there. But all said and done, given the crude prices which have come down, and we have a lot of derivatives of crude which kind of come in the shape of monomers and so on and so forth, we definitely see that there is a softening in terms of the prices which are happening. But at the same time, the environment is very, very volatile. We don't really know in terms of, whether this is sustainable, how it kind of goes. And when demand starts picking up, some of these raw materials also start picking up, parallel to that. So we will have to wait and watch and see in terms of how much is the prices which are sustainable. But if there are any things which possibly are coming in as cost savings, we would like to definitely pass on those margins to the customer.
Okay, so that was actually going to be my next question. You haven't changed your pricing in Q4, but with these softening prices like you mentioned, and of course the need to lure demand as well, would you consider pricing cuts in Q1?
Yeah, so the pricing, the price value equation for the Indian customer is really very, very important. And we would be pretty sensitive in terms of seeing that if there are benefits which are coming because of softening of material prices, we would be fair in terms of passing those prices to the customers. The question is when, and possibly after an indication that there is some stability in terms of these prices, because the currently the volatility is very, very high.
All right, and finally, Mr. Syngle, how has COVID changed Asian Paints' future plans? I mean, have you had to trim your capex or anything like that?
Actually, see, from the point of view of looking at marketing and innovation, I think there is nothing which has changed, because we are launching new products. We are getting into new segments. You've seen the launch in the sanitizers business, which has kind of really upped our antenna in the health and hygiene sector. We are looking at a lot of campaigns which have hit the market already in the month of April, May, and June. There are above the line campaigns happening. There is a digital spend which is happening. We feel that I think it is very important to maintain brand saliency and look at communicating to your customers in terms of giving them the assurance that the brand is always there. So we feel that as far as the marketing areas, the product innovation areas, I think that is something which we have kind of taken it and up the ante in terms of that, and that is going on strongly. As far as investments go, we have not stopped any investments which are essential with respect to any upgradations of capability or looking at any modifications in terms of equipments, plants, in terms of going forward. But yes, we are exercising a caution in terms of not really splurging in terms of our overall capex and our overheads. There is definitely a sensitivity in terms of cash preservation which is there to that extent, and accordingly I think a lot of initiatives are being taken that in areas where we can conserve money, we should conserve money.